welcome back. Today we're going to be doing some work on the Toyota. That's why we're in here. Long time no see. Mike probably hasn't posted the update video we took yesterday. By the time this video gets released, actually, I can't tell you how many videos Mike and I have recorded that you have never seen. I would say, how many gigs, Mike? How many gigabytes of video have you taken that has never reached the internet? Terabytes. So by Mike's admission, we probably recorded terabytes of video that you guys have never seen. Today, we're going to be working on the suspension. A lot of you are probably like, why? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. We have some parts here from T3, Techno Toy Tuning. Shout out to those guys. And we're going to be working a little bit here, a little bit there. All the reasoning on why you're going to see us do what we're doing is in the video that hopefully Mike has released around the update for this and how we got to where we're at. But the good news is by the end of it, the car is going to be back on its wheels because we have wheels now, which are there and some on the other side. And then it'll be rollable. And, you know, we've got our transmission and some other stuff. And if you want more of an update than that, go watch the other video that Mike definitely needs to put out. Right, Mike, as you edit this, you're going to put out the other video?
Yeah,
good.
Maybe.
So let's get back there and see what we're dealing with today. And there's a wheel. And I guess the first part of any of this is going to be going home. So we're back here in the back of the car doing stuff, fixing things that we've done in the past and making improvements. So you're going to need a 14. You're going to need a 14 and 15 open-ended wrench in the back of the car, which you'll see, or maybe vice grips, depends. But there's one 14 millimeter bolt here to get out this strut, because this is what we're wrenching on today as we're upgrading from our Takiko Blues, which actually did see a good amount of travel. They're not like 0 mileage parts like all other stuff I've replaced on the car. But yeah, you know, we're gonna take out some bolts, change some pieces out. It's gonna be really easy. So this is our strut bolt for the bottom. It's a 14 millimeter bolt and bracket piece, and you're just gonna do this. It's pretty straightforward. You wanna make sure you pay attention to how these things come off the car if it's your first time doing it. So you notice there's a bolt with a little lock washer, and then there's, you know, this little like metal bushing piece, and then you got the actual strut itself, which we will work on getting out once we loosen up the top. Yeah, because it's on there pretty good. And so now we'll go into the hatch and take care of what's up there. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. What you're going to have is a larger, well, if your car's right, you'll have a larger nut, like a 15 millimeter, followed by a 14 millimeter. And at the very top, there's a flat section that you can use for gripping it with vice grips if you must. So the idea here is that you take a 15 that's usually a little bit thinner, you place it over the 15, you put a 14 millimeter wrench on the lock nut, and then that's how you can secure the top. So we broke that free with a collection of tools, and you can imagine it went as well as it always goes for us. And then you simply take off the top nut. As usual with this stuff, it's important, even if you have new, if you have all new stuff like we are about to put on the car, remember how this stuff comes off. You know, either take pictures, do a video, even if you don't show it to anyone, just put it on your phone, and that'll give you a point to go backwards from if everything goes to garbage. What you're looking at, besides an idiot, is an LED strip that I have mounted to the privacy cover, which Mike is showing off there. It comes with a remote control and an IR sensor, so you can adjust the color or set a standard color or have different lighting patterns happen. And it plug and plays with your existing wiring, so there's nothing to do with it. There's no cutting wires or anything else. It actually plugs into where your original trunk light was. And as you can imagine from the size difference, you get quite a lot more light out of this Fred Tech light kit than you do with just a 194 bulb or even a 194 LED bulb. So if you want one of those and you're interested in this kit, plug and play kit, head over to fredtechlighting.com and pick yours up there. And it is a very nice, easy to install kit. The R32 GTR guys love them.
Yep.
So then back to this, you're gonna pull this assembly off. It goes spacer Washer, it's not really a washer, but it's washer. Washer, bushing, and then washer like that. And so now with that done, we're gonna kick out the strut from the bottom and pull it on out of the car. This is off down here, so then it simply drops out from the top. And now our original unit is out of the car, just like that. Here's our upgrade or our replacement. We're actually going with the TRD Blues, the short strut kit from T3. A couple of nice things. This is hardened steel on the top instead of what I think is maybe not reinforced or hardened steel or aluminum. That's very easy to grind up. And this is really easy to install. All we're gonna do is push this on through the arm on the axle, put this through the body, and then install the bushing at the top. These have adjustability. I'm gonna leave them right in the middle at 4 where they shipped from. They're still easy enough to compress, so you can still compress them down. They have good, rebound and all the stuff you care about. You should be aware when you're mounting these to face the adjustment piece towards the rear of the car, towards the hatch of the car. If you face it forwards, it might actually be pretty difficult to get any kind of adjustment on. So you get a nice little baggie of hardware when you buy these. The downside is that all the instructions are in Moon Rune, AKA they're in Japanese. There's a couple different ways you could do this. I'm sure there's a specifically right way. Here's how we're going to do it. There are, in the kit, 2 bushes that are identical, 2 washers that are identical, 2 nuts, in which one is a 14 and one is a 15, so it's a lock nut set up for the top. And then this single washer, which has a raised lip on it. So there's a couple thoughts, and we'll go through them with you, and then we'll tell you what we decided. If you put the washer on with the lip facing up, and then you drop a bushing on it, this looks very wrong to us because there's a gap that would ride and probably wear into the bushing pretty quickly. So that's not right. If you flip this washer over and drop the bushing on top of it, that looks pretty good because the metal collar kind of touches the top of the sleeve there on the strut perfectly, but we don't think that's right either. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. If you know, let us know in the comments. What we think is correct is you have one of these washers without the lip and a bushing here, and you have this set up. This one with the collar fits into the body of the car perfectly, and we'll show you what I mean by that in just a minute. But first, let's get this on the car, and then we'll go up top and we'll talk about what we're talking about with that in just a minute. With this lip, it fits right down into the body, pretty much perfect, right there. So if you look, that fits into that space, almost perfect. So that's how we're gonna run it. That seems right to us. And from this point, it's straightforward. You drop your top bushing here, you drop your last washer there, you take your bigger 15, you spin it on, you tighten it by hand. So 14 on top. Good enough for the girls that we date. And that's it. The rears are done. Upgrade complete. Make sure you take your old hardware and get rid of it. And there you go. Our TRD rear short strut conversion is completed. And now you can join us in the front as we get ready to tackle that. We'll be doing the TRD blue short strut stroke. Short strut stroke, huh? Mike, I'm having a stroke in here. Don't use this one. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it though. I've done like 9 openings wrong now, so we're just gonna do this one. We're working on the Toyota. We're gonna take some stuff off. We're gonna clean some stuff up. I'm shooting by myself. I'm gonna show you what the other side looks like, and then we're gonna get into it. So let's get started, and I'll try to keep everyone along for the ride. All right, here we go. There, Mike, I got it. Okay, guys, so we're on the drinker's side of the car, the passenger side. And as you can see, and I'm trying to light this myself, we have our strut tube, which is refinished with our new Toyota OEM boot, our TRD spring, our big brake kit, T3 arms, Cusco sway bar, And then in the back here, which you can kind of see, not really, I'm sorry Mike, this is gonna be poorly edited, are T3 steering angle arms, or steering arms with adjustable anchorman. So, you know, and our GTX2 coilovers, or control arms, not coilovers. At the top, we have our evolved camber, focus. We have our T3 evolved camber plates with adjustable caster, so you can loosen these up and adjust everything if you want to, caster and camber. And then you can see the TRD blue has the adjustable damper ratings at the top that you can get to through these. And I'll show you how to do all this installation on the other side as best I can, one man. Real quick, if you were doing this normally, you'd also have to contend with your control arm, which you can see is absolutely missing, your sway bar end link, and your tension rod. I have all that disconnected because I had dropped the subframe and the sway bar brackets to have them powder coated, which we kind of talked about in the last video. So this is already a free unit, so we're a couple steps ahead, but we're gonna pick up from here. But let's go get some tools, and I'm just gonna leave the camera recording because I don't care. Mike has to edit it, not me. I would recommend, before you get into this, if you're watching this thinking about doing this job, to order some stuff if you haven't already. If you're doing this for the first job or first time and you haven't done so, yeah, just like, I think this one just broke. I would order a new cotter pin, probably a wheel bearing kit, race kit, you know, all that stuff that you need to service this for the first time. Yeah, see, like that, we're not gonna be able to use that cotter pin again when we do reassembly. That's okay, because we're not dealing with real assembly today. So get out those cotter pins. I think I could probably just get by with, you know, the wrong tool for the job. Wrong tool for the job is sometimes the best tool for the job, right? And then there's a washer, right? Or is that the bearing that's riding in there? I don't really remember. I think that's the bearing. We're about to find out though. There's definitely a washer. Now see, I just did the other side. I don't remember a washer being there. So I should probably check and make sure that washer is where I left it, huh? Make sure I didn't lose something along the way on the other side. Just go ahead and start cleaning this off because we're gonna need to get this nice and clean. All this old wheel bearing grease that has so many miles on it, you know. Yeah, all the miles I put on the car recently, it's just, this is needed, Brad. Well, no, it's got miles. It's got the miles it had on the back of the truck because I towed it home. And there she is. And now we will show you how to clean this up and make it look new. So we got our strut out, our strut tube and assembly. And now we need to, you know, remove things from it to get it free. And I definitely didn't do this off camera and then put this, oh, look at that. I just got it off that simple. So maybe I pulled that off when you guys weren't looking. Maybe, you'll never know. But this is why we do this stuff, right? Like, here are parts that I've never surfaced. You can kind of see that bearing. It's pretty worn. This top hat looks like Garbo. It's definitely factory. It's got paint on it from when it was painted. That's trash. And this is the insulator plate that rides on the top, or the shock top. Now T3 actually does sell replacement shock tops. Hopefully this is all focused. So you can order aftermarket for these, but I'm gonna reuse mine. The rubbers, which that one's trash, you guys can still order from Toyota, if you're lucky, new insulator rubbers that the spring will ride on. Let me make that focus, there we go. So you can get these, new old stock. See the bumper here, you can also order these. They're actually discontinued in the US, but you can still get them overseas. There's the part number. These are available on eBay, Fleabay, a couple other places, but you can get these guys new. Enough. The bumper will come off if I use some WD-40. Let's go, there we go. We'll let that sit for a minute while we return Mike's can. There. Pull off the old bumper. I'm not gonna need that. And the next thing we're gonna do is pull off the T3 caliper bracket. Mike's gonna be so furious with how this video is being filmed. So furious. So that little guy, right about there, is a cheap Amazon ultrasonic cleaner. And I'm gonna show you what it does. It's great. So you remember this guy that we just saw? This gross spring top, strut top? We're gonna put this through the ultrasonic cleaner. You can get one of these pretty cheap on Amazon. I don't remember how much, but relatively inexpensive. And they do a great job of cleaning stuff. You just want to really get the part submerged. That's the most important thing. And then you're just gonna turn it on. And we're gonna set the temperature to, you know, max, because it's not gonna get there, because it's pretty cold in this shop. So 80 Celsius? Yeah, we'll do that. And then you want to set a time. We'll say, I don't know, 15 minutes for the first run. And you turn it on and let it go. It makes that beautiful noise. And, you know, it does its thing. All right, so we're over at the workbench. And what we're gonna do is take our strut tower tube. I'm gonna place it in our vise very carefully. You don't wanna put too much clamping force on this at all, just enough to where it's tight. And the goal is to get this locking washer off, or locking nut off. I'm sure all of these things have better names than what I'm saying, but we're just gonna go with it. And I don't know if I'll have the strength to turn this, but we're gonna give it a go. Because these are on here sometimes. I did do this like 10 years ago with the Kikos, but you know, because I've been in here before, but it's a bit problematic. Yep, just like that. All right. Now you're gonna unthread this gigantic lock washer, essentially. And pull it off. And then the strut comes out of the tube. And look at that. That looks brand new because it's protected the whole time in there, except for that little bit of oil. And now this can go onto a new home, because I know someone that would like these. It would be good for their Toyota. And these only have maybe, I don't know, 5,000 or 6,000 miles on them, because I put these on the car right before the head gasket went and all this started. But now that we're at this point, we're gonna start restoring this shock tube, and we'll get it all cleaned up by elbow grease, water, degreaser, and time. So what we have is the strut tube. You just saw it when we were talking about cleaning it. We have now cleaned it. It is in a good a shape as it can be for its condition. We have taped off the spindle. We've taped off the original sticker. We shoved some paper towels, you know, on the top just to help paint stay out of it. We're gonna be very careful with our application up top. We'll paint this. We'll thread chase out the threads when we're done. Also, the strut top, which is to our left on another hook. Mike was kind enough to sand that back to get the rust off of it. This is the finished product there. And we did that because there was some light surface rust and some rubber that didn't come off the inside ring. And so we're gonna spray this as well, and you'll see what the finished product is here in just a minute. But yeah, so this is the Eastwood chassis black. We'll let this dry. This looks pretty great. You know, we didn't get any paint on the spindle area. We didn't get any paint down in the strut tube itself. So we're back downstairs. This is day 2 now of what will be reassembly. We have our finished painted strut tube. You can see it's turned out pretty well using the products that we talked about last time. And we're gonna go ahead and assemble this. So talking about assembly, if you just dropped this strut tube in here, you'll notice that it's way too short. That's not gonna work. And what T3, and so the way it used to be done, or that you can still do it, is you can actually cut the strut tube. I got paint on myself. I guess this wasn't done drying in places. You can cut the strut tube shorter than what you need to accomplish the short stroke strut conversion. Or if you're like me and you don't want to cut things up because you don't like modifying parts to the point where they can't be taken back to original, T3 sells these machined aluminum blocks that you can simply drop into the strut casing. And then you can put your TRD short stroke strut, I'm going to have a stroke trying to say that, into the casing, and then that will give you the amount of adjustability you need, or the amount of height you need. T3 includes with their kit this locking nut that fits over the top and threads in. And it's important to note that when you tighten this up, which you'll see us do in a minute, you shouldn't be able to tighten it all the way, as in you should have some threads showing. If you seat this 100%, then it's possible that this is loose in the strut tube and something's wrong. If you experience that, you should probably contact T3 and ask them what you're doing wrong or what isn't right. Where is this bleeding paint from? I don't understand where this is bleeding paint.
Is it grease?
It's not grease. That's paint, man. That's definitely paint somewhere. I don't know. So we're going to take this over to the workbench. We're going to show you some of the more parts that we have new to install. We're going to tighten that clamping nut up, and then we're going to assemble this short stroke strut conversion. That is a hard thing to say. I'm going to remind everyone from when we did this the first time, you want to tighten this in here, but you don't want to over tighten it. You don't want to crush the strut tube. And then you just need a good set of vice grips, and you're going to grab this nut as we previously disclosed and just tighten it on. Okay, and just go nice and slow and just work it around. And then you ask your big buddy Mike to come in and you give her a good go while I hold it. Just turn her down.
Yeah, for this you either need big vice grips, an adjustable wrench, or like a monkey plumber's wrench kind of thing.
Oh, we just rotate. So our next part to put on will be our new bumpers. Bumper's going to rest on this lip here when you put it on. It's pretty straightforward. You just got to work it down on until you feel it come to a stop, which is right about there. And you can see it's pretty much flush with the machined head there. It's assembly. And you're going to drop that inside of this piece, so it's like that. And then you're going to drop this on here and kind of get it lined up.
The top hat?
You're right. Are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm having a stroke. Okay, so the T3 Evolved camber hats come with a bag of sleeves for different struts and options that you might be running. If you are running the T3 strut top hat, this will not work for you. They have a different piece that will go in the car, or go in the you'll see in a minute, all right? Just stick with me. If you're using the OEM strut top, the piece that you need is this one, okay? There's a couple of them that you're gonna get, and it goes in from the bottom. And it goes in from the bottom so that the strut rides on the bearing like designed for OEM. How did anti-seize get here? Anti-seize gets everywhere. I didn't even use anti-seize on this project.
So it's very important to note that that sleeve goes under the top hat,
Yes.
not on top.
Not on
because
top.
We did a lot of troubleshooting.
We did a lot of troubleshooting, and then I asked the guys at T3, it doesn't go like that. It goes from the bottom. And the easy way to do that is to drop it on the top, but we can't do that at the moment because we have to compress the spring. So Mike is going to help me compress the spring, and then we're going to install this and hope that we don't kill ourselves. And you want to get this kind of lined up, and then you're going to drop this guy on in any position, that doesn't really matter. And then you're going to run this guy on just enough to where you can loosen the Widowmakers and get them out of play. Yep, we're good there. Now we're going to carefully, it should be all right. Good. I'm going to carefully start to loosen these up. This is kind of what your finished product should look like. We have our T3 Evolved camber plate top hats installed. The TRD short stroke strut has a adjustability screw adjustment on the top, so you can adjust the rebound and damper rate and all that fun stuff. We have our reconditioned top hat for the spring. Underneath of that, you have the new rubber gasket that this sits in. You can see that there's a new boot. The spring is seated in the upmost position of the strut tube itself, and the strut tube itself has been, for the most part, overall reconditioned to a point where it's pretty passable for what we're doing here. Obviously, from where we started, it looks a lot better. So now we get to go put it back in the car and do the reverse of the installation, and you have successfully, without cutting your strut, installed TRD short stroke. You have successfully installed TRD short stroke struts. So we'll put this back in, we'll throw it together, and this should last a long time, and it should be good. These are pretty famous struts for being, you know, a great daily driver and weekend warrior strut. Obviously, if you wanted to save yourself all this time and effort, you could do coils. T3 offers excellent coils. There's a couple other manufacturers that make really great coils for this car. I don't choose coils. Mike actually doesn't run coils in his car because, and this is controversial, right? This is a personal opinion. We don't feel like for the racing that we do and for the driving that we do, I should say, we need that kind of adjustability. We need to be able to do that. While those things are definitely beneficial if you're playing at that level, for what I plan to use this car for when it drives again, this will be an excellent setup that'll be great from where we were. So we went from the OE stuff that you didn't see us take off the car to the Takiko Blue stuff, which was a great OEM replacement, to now the TRD short stroke stuff that is going to be, you know, worlds better than the Takiko Blues were. So why don't we go get this back in the car, we'll button it up, and then we can keep on going with this 86 project. So you guys missed it, but me and Mike reinstalled the strut. It was very difficult in terms of it goes in and you put nuts on it, but it's nice to have two people. So real quickly, Mike and I are going to recreate that for you, okay? Mike, set that down. Come here. It doesn't matter. Just aim the camera later. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay, Mike. Just. Yep. Oh,
got the nuts on.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So now that that's done, did you guys catch all that? Good. Perfect. We're gonna tighten those up to anything torque pounds. So the great thing about these, right? Seriously, is that you can from in here you can adjust the camber and caster of the entire strut assembly by adjusting this, by loosening those up, and you can actually move the whole strut assembly. Then you can actually move the top hat to give you caster adjustment if you wanted as well, which I am not going to do. I don't have any need of that, but you can if you want to. So now we're going to put on T3's adjustable steering angle arms with adjustable Ackerman. They come with a diagram where you can check it online that explains how to set them up for more angle for drift or more street or standard road race kind of compatibility. We're on the left-hand side, and I'm going to use the road compatibility, which means that this quad adjustable bushing installs facing the vehicle, and this one in this corner installs facing away from the vehicle. And that will assemble to our RCAs, our roll center adjusters, which you'll see me put on in a minute. Now, it's important to mention, if you have RCAs, and these are T3s, I repowder coated them black because the red powder coat or red anodization failed and just got old. You might need longer bolts. These are 90 millimeter long from the head, and you can pick these up on like McMaster or anywhere else. But if you do need longer bolts to reach into the strut tube, these are about 90 mil. This is M12 1 by 1.25, I want to say. So we'll go ahead and try to get all this hammered up. First things first is we got to put our nut on here. Mike, you had that. Where's that nut at? That's about tight enough. And now we get to struggle a little bit with getting all this to line up. This is a bit of a pain in the butt. Yes. Yes, that is exactly what you want to have. Why won't this go on? Let me keep just turning. A24 then. We'll be installing our T3 caliper bracket. And because I expect this to be the final time, I'm going to apply a little bit of blue thread sealant to all the bolts. Oh, the smell of grease. Fucking everything just gets fucking demolished. And it's still fucking packed with grease. It's still good. And carefully drop this baby on board. Alright, so we're going to do our torque sequence here as best we can. If you follow the official FSM, you need to measure preload with a special service tool, and then make sure there's no brake drag, which obviously we can't really do here. What Toyota tells you to do is, with the brakes on the car, you would install all the parts you just saw. You would put this one to 21 foot-pounds. You turn the bearing several times to help seat it. You recheck this at 21 foot-pounds. And then you would make sure there's no brake drag or anything. Then you would loosen this and attach a special service tool until it comes into a preload that is in the book, which I don't know off the top of my head, which obviously we can't do with this setup. So once you find that preload, you make sure that the nut is not too tight to where you can't turn it by hand, and you should have, you know, smooth rotation of the brake hub assembly, kind of like you see there. You got to just make the best of it if you have aftermarket parts, and trust that you have it within, you know, a reasonable tolerance, which I think that we do. It's as good as I can fucking do it. You have any better ideas, Mike?
Nope.
Don't have this kind of suspension set up?
Mm-hmm.
I hope this cotter pin is. Yes, it is. Can you grab me a set of needle nose, please? Okay, so what we're doing here, besides struggling, is we are reinstalling the caliper, and then we're going to deal with that pesky brake line. Now remember, this line runs through this strut tube, and then needs to make a nice little uniform bloop like this, with a nice little curvature to this nipple. Okay, yeah, so now we're going to do the right thing this time and run that through here, and then you're going to want to attach that. Yeah, that's what we meant to do the first time. Gee. Just like that. Now you got a nice blend in your line. You got your line attached up here, and your strut is installed. We had the power steering rack back in the car and bolted up and attached to the intermediate shaft, to the steering wheel, and all that's good to go, but we also are going to be replacing these end links. Talking very quickly about these steering arms one more time. So to begin, I'm going to give you guys a rough and dirty way, you've seen it here on the show before, on how to remove your existing outer tie rod arm. It's pretty straightforward, but we're going to try to avoid really throwing this setting off, although again, the whole car is going to need one hell of an alignment when it's done. So start by just breaking free your bolt and nut, and then just count the revolutions as you take it off. So this is 1 full revolution. 2, 3, 22, 23, 24, 25. So we're gonna say about 25 turns to get that one off. Now before you thread this one on, T3 includes a lock washer with their kit, and you wanna make sure you send that on. You obviously don't need to worry about how many turns this goes on, just send it far up. Lock nut, sorry. It's been a day. And then you want to start with this in the same position and just count 25 going in. 1, 23, 24, 25. What do you know? That worked out pretty well. So that might not be, you know, 1-to-1 perfect for where we were, but it allows us to mimic kind of where the original one was. Now very quickly we'll talk about this arm here. Has 2 selection positions for where you can mount your outer tie rod. The outside position is more of an OEM driving position. It's going to give you the steering feel that you're accustomed to, but there's another point drilled here, which should give you a sharper steering response and more angle, correct? Closer to the strut, so we should get a little more angle and a sharper feeling. So we're going to use that setting because the car sees a lot of action. T3 includes a lovely setup here with a 24-inch nut, a 24-inch bolt.
24-inch?
Thank you, Mike. A 24-inch bolt, a 24mm nut, a 24mm headed bolt. So this drops in from the bottom. Your bushing drops in from the top, and then you guys aren't going to really be able to see anymore.
The bottom.
So the original measurements, don't worry about them. It didn't work out. That's fine. The great news is that if you loosen these locking nuts on the front and the end, you can simply grab this bar and twist to adjust. Now again, this car is going to need a professional alignment. We'll let that, worry about that with the professionals. We're just going to get it as close as we can and then secure these lock nuts at the end just by turning them on. And then you can simply grab a wrench and tighten them up. Boy, oh boy. We used to be a professional YouTube channel. You're right, because, there you go. This is definitely a lot of adjustability to make this kind of straight, but we'll, again, leave this in the capable hands of a proper alignment shop that has experience in adjusting this many adjustable arms. All we need is the car to point straight to literally tow it onto a tow truck when that time comes. But the parts are installed, and from this point, an alignment shop, like we always end these videos on, we'll be able to get those fine settings dialed in. So thanks for coming along on this. We have completed our TRD short strut. We've completed our TRD short stroke strut conversion of the 86. Yeah, so links for all the T3 stuff today will be in the description below. Some of the tools and things you might need will be in the description below. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff to Mike's channel. And I hope you guys get to come along for the next step, because once this is on the ground, you guys know what time it is next. It's motor time.
So the #1 comment people are going to ask in this video.
Yeah.
How's it drive? So, how's it drive?
Fantastic.
How's it feel on the road?
Feels great. Feels fantastic.
Good.
Yeah. It did 10 years ago.
Does it rub?
No rub.
No rubbing?
No rubbing.
No bumping?
Mm-mm.
Great.
Yeah.
You can take speed bumps just fine?
Just great.
I figured.
Yep. Yep. Brakes last a long time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You haven't had to change pads in
4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm gonna go cry.
It's practically a Tesla.
I hate you so much. I'm going to go cry.